I am so excited that you're here. This episode, I want you to first relate to the stories I'm going to tell you, because if you're a 50-year-old person, I don't like to say woman because I'm hoping that many people listen to this, or just the child or of a 50-year-old person, you will gain insight from this podcast for sure. It's going to be about food, and I love food. I am a glorified, self-proclaimed foodie, and I just love food. I love every kind of food that there is. I can eat any food that there is. The only food that I've gagged at, honestly, is beef tartare. I cannot bring myself to eat that. And I just went out on a really fun date with a guy who loves beef tartare. And I was so excited to make sure he was at a restaurant where he could get that, but I did not want to eat it. So it just makes me gag. It's just, ugh. But anyway, this episode is going to be very, it's going to be fun. I'm excited to share it with you. But I want to start off with just talking about more current events and things that are happening right now with me. And I want to share and be very, very vulnerable and very transparent with you and very honest. I was just at the hotel bar eating my dinner. I took a train ride today to Boston for work. And it was kind of an exciting thing because I don't usually ride the train. It is only like a 2-hour flight to Boston. And for me, flying to Boston is quick, But also, it is a lot of hubbub because I have to drive to the airport. There's a lot of you have to get there an hour and a half early. So, it does, all the hours add up with travel. And of course, in the past 2 weeks, everyone knows about all the flights being canceled or delayed. So I thought I was going to drive to Boston. So I thought, well, I'll just get my rental car for work and drive to Boston. Well, I decided to just do a little more research and get on a train. The train ride was just phenomenal. It was like an event for me. I chose the train, and it was really nice because I could actually work from the train. The train ride was very long. I had to get on, I'll be honest, I had to get on a train to get to Philadelphia from where I live. And then from Philly, I had to switch trains. And then, this is the crazy thing about the train today. The train was supposed to leave from Philly at 8:30. I'm all excited. I get there. I have 30 minutes to go get a breakfast sandwich and a coffee before I have to go get in the line for the train in Philly. And what happens is I get this alert on my phone that says, your train has been delayed 1 hour. I'm like, what? So I'm like, okay, wait a minute. The whole point of the train was that things were not going to be delayed. Everything was going to go smooth. So then I resorted to, okay, well, this is okay. I'll just slow down, drink my coffee. They had a beautiful Christmas tree set up at the Philly. First off, the Philly train station is under construction right now, but the parts of it that are done are just really pretty. And I can only imagine when it's completely finished how absolutely just Philadelphia just is loaded with history and just beautiful architecture. And I can't even describe to me. I think I am one of those crazy nuts, nerdy people who just gets excited about silly things like a statue. But yeah, that's me. So I did, I sat by the Christmas tree with my little Dunkin' Donuts coffee and my breakfast sandwich, which is going to segue us into food because I'm learning more and more that all this fast food is really not good for us. But either way, I took the train. And like I said, the train was glorious. I could work a little bit. I did lose internet service about 2-3 hours in. So I got some work done in the morning, and then I resorted to the fact that I had to read a book, which was amazing because I could not work. I couldn't work because I lost internet service. And I kept trying to get on. And I thought, you know what? That's it. Close the laptop, read a book. And I did. I read a really amazing book that I've had for a while from a man who has suffered through living with a parent who's an addict. Anyway, I'm segueing way off into another area. So we're going to round back to the train ride. And anyway, the train ride from Philly to Boston is just, it's a beautiful ride. It's beautiful. And I grew up on the Jersey Shore I grew up on the beach. I grew up with the back bays and the marshes. But still, as I'm driving from Philly to Boston, you think I'd never saw like, a bay, or I never saw like a marsh or a rock or sand, because it was just like, it just gets me really, really excited. I think it instantly calms me down. It just makes me feel peaceful. And I felt like a little kid, like just sightseeing for the first time, something I'd never seen before, although I've seen it a million times. And it just felt good. And I have been in a situation where I fly, and I'm pretty good with my nerves with flying, although I know a lot of people can't handle it. They get really stressed if they have to switch flights. That does not stress me out, believe it or not. I kind of get an adrenaline rush from it, because I'm like, it's like a challenge. I'm like, oh, I have to do this. I have to get here. So for me, it's more of a thrill than a stressor, I guess. But hearing other people talk about flying, I heard a man on the train say behind me, and I thought it was really neat. He said he'll give up some time to not feel like he's losing his mind. And I thought that was just a neat statement, meaning that he would ride the train instead of fly. So he's a businessman, and he uses the train instead of flights. And I can see why. I actually, one time when I did end up flying to Boston, one of my flights on the way home got so waylaid that I was almost going to have to get a room that night and then fly out in the morning. And then I drove home. So I drove home the 6 or 7 hours, and the intensity of driving, first off, if you drive on back roads, for me, it's very relaxing. But when you're doing highway driving and you're constantly like stop, go, by the time you get home, you don't realize the stress you've been under until you get home. And you're like, wow, you're physically exhausted, even though you've just been sitting, not moving. You're just sitting there, right? For 6 hours, literally not moving. But you're exhausted because your brain has just been like working on not, stop, go. But on the train, it's different. On the train, you might take a 20-minute nap. You might work for 2 hours. You might read a book for a little bit. And you can accomplish so much more than you can when you're driving. And even in an airport, I guess unless you pay for the extra internet, but the airport, you're more disrupted with your work than you would be on the train, where it's very focused and peaceful. I mean, it was crowded, though. The train was crowded. You didn't feel like you had a lot of space. But either way, I did enjoy the train. I won't say I'm going to give up flying for the efficiency of it when it's efficient. But the train ride was amazing. It was really good. So, and this is the silly part of it. I brought all this healthy food. Like I brought raspberries and blueberries and nuts, and I brought a little bag. I have really low blood pressure, so I have to eat salt. So I brought a little bag of pickles. It was actually like a sealed bag that had pickles in it. This is the crazy part. When I put the bag down, I must have somehow squished the pickles in the bottom of my bag, because I have a really neat backpack that has like a section in the back. It's actually a backpack made for sailors, I think. But it has a section that is like insulated, so you can put cold stuff in it. So I had my food in the back of the backpack, and I guess in the process of me moving around, moving my bag, squishing my bag here and there, the pickle bag popped. And the insulated section did not keep the water in it like it should have. And all the pickle juice dripped down I'll just say it. It dripped down my butt, all down the back of my jeans into my underwear. And I smelled like pickles the whole ride. I felt like the dirty girl, like from Charlie Brown, like what's his name? Oh my gosh, why can't I remember his name? Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed I can't remember his name. But the little guy with the little like stinky stuff on his head. I felt like that person walking around the airport. Like people would look at me and be like, oh my gosh, she stinks like pickles. But anyway, it was kind of funny. Anyway, that's my story about the train. The train was, either way, it was a really nice ride. I really enjoyed it. Met two really neat women who sat at my table with me, and, had a good time. It was a good ride. Food. So I wanted to talk about current events again. I came down to the bar. I like to eat. I get home, not home, oh my gosh, I get to the hotel, which is not home. And when I come back from a center, I like to lift weights, or maybe I usually hike, but now that it's getting dark, I'll lift weights and do the elliptical for 30 minutes. And then I shower and I eat around maybe 7:30 or 8. And that's why I like to get a hotel that has a restaurant in it, because then I can run down and grab food. Usually certain restaurants you can get food, some restaurants you can't get food. Sometimes you can get near, if you have two hotels, you might be able to walk to another one that has a restaurant, or you have a restaurant near the hotel. Either way. And I'm alone. So a lot of times I do like to pop over, sit at the bar, because I also like to watch TV when I eat. It's really relaxing to sit and maybe watch a football game while you're eating. And if I can strategically put myself somewhere in the restaurant at a table where I don't have to sit at the bar, I will, but I like to sit at the bar. So culturally, what I'm talking about with food, this is the funny thing. I noticed tonight huge cultural difference between women and men. I often will sit at the bar if I feel like there's not a lot of men monopolizing it. If there's like maybe just a couple men, or there's like people who look more, I hate to say it, but are not like loud and obnoxious, but they're more keeping to themselves, then I might sit down at the bar. I like to sit at the bar because I like to talk to the bartender, and I like to watch television when I'm there too, because it's just peaceful, relaxing, and I'm by myself, I don't want to sit at a table alone all the time, especially if you're traveling for like 3 or 4 days. Usually the first 2 nights it's okay to be alone. The third night you kind of want a little bit of human interaction. But anyway, so tonight I went down and I'm at a particular hotel, and I'm going to talk about 2 things right now about with this particular hotel. I'm going to talk about the food that I ate, and I'm also going to talk about the situation. When I went down there, I was like, it was all men at the bar. They just monopolized the whole thing. It was like 5 or 6 of them. And they didn't sound obnoxious. They were all kind of minding their business. Some were on their phones, some were watching TV. They were all eating and just big drink in front of them. And I did want to sit at the bar, but I kind of just tonight, sometimes I don't feel intimidated at all by the men sitting there, but tonight I did, because it was just so loaded. There were only like 2 seats left, and I would have had to squish in, and I just thought, you know what? No, I'm not going to sit there. So I sat at a little bistro table by myself, and I sat over by a television, and I looked around where I was sitting, and I noticed that there were like 3 other women just like me. So 4 of us, right? 4 women. All just scattered about, business women like me, like women that were traveling for work. And they were all by themselves eating. And I actually wanted to walk around as I was finishing my meal, because I really just went down there and I ate and I left. And I wanted to just walk around and say, hey ladies, tomorrow, let's all get down here and just take over this bar. We need to be at the bar. We need to sit there. Like, this should not just be the guys. We need to take it over. Why are we like humble and in the back and all like meek and mild? We need to get up there. I remember one time I was in the airport and I went up. I was waiting for my flight, and I went to get like a taco at some, I think it was like a Mexican restaurant. Anyway, it was all these professional women. I was sitting there, and we all sort of converged individually on the bar one at a time. I looked around and we're just filling it up. The whole bar was filled. I mean, it was like at least 6 or more women, all just some professionals, some just, traveling by themselves, whatever. It was just a group of women. And I'm pretty quiet, and I'll usually talk to the person next to me, but I don't really like rally the troops up too much. But I just looked at the bar and I had to say, whoa, This is the best bar. We're loaded with ladies. It was just like we took the whole thing over. And the bartender started cracking up and she goes, I was just thinking the same exact thing that you just said. And she said, and this is like happened only once before since I've been a bartender. This is only like the second time I've ever seen a bar full of women. And I just felt like this girl power, yeah. But it was just fun. It was just fun. And I travel a lot, so it is rare to see, and this episode is about food. I'm going to get back to the food, I promise. But it is rare to see a bar full of women, or even all women that do things together. And this is going to be a little sidebar thing, but I do bikepacking trips. I've done 2 with some of my friends that are women. And we did them alone without any man. It was just like 4 women one time. It was 5 women the other time. And we did the Gap Allegheny Trail and the C&O Trail that goes all through like Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, a little bit of Pennsylvania. Either way, we did that trail. And the second time we did it, we were on the Gap Allegheny. And we noticed as we were riding that it was all men, groups of men. There were no all women groups. Then we noticed some of the groups were men and women mixed together. Maybe there'd be like 3 men and 2 women, usually more men than women, in these bike packing groups that were traveling on the trail. And we only saw one other group of women that were all women. And we actually stopped and all kind of did little high fives of each other, or yeah, women, girl power. Like, you guys are the only girl group we've seen. And it was just really cool. But it just puts things into perspective for you as women. It's just, we need to I really wish I walked around individually to each of those women and said, hey ladies, let's just sit at the bar tomorrow and hang out. Let's just take it over. I just wish we did, but we didn't. So, what can I say? But what I want to talk about tonight is food. And I went down at this particular hotel that I'm in, and I ordered the same thing I've ordered for about 6 years now. Wait, let me think. Yeah, 6 years now. It's kind of creepy when I think about it. Well, 3 years, 4 years. Either way, I always get some kind of a salad with either chicken or salmon on top. And then sometimes I order a steak with a potato and a vegetable. Well, this year, the past 2 months, I'm afraid, I feel embarrassed to order the usual steak that I order because it's $40 at a hotel, for a steak. And I looked at the menu tonight, and I wanted to see the steak description, and I wanted to see how much it cost, because it just blows my mind. It's $20 for a salad now, and if you add chicken, it's or salmon, it's another $7. So you end up spending $27 for a salad with chicken or salmon on top. And okay, so this is what really made me mad tonight. I used to love coming to this hotel and getting the salmon on top of the salad. And usually it was this massive, beautiful piece of salmon that was just cooked perfectly. Perfectly. And tonight it was this little square of salmon that was so thin, and it was overcooked, which I should have complained. So overcooked. It was almost like a salmon, dried salmon. I'm like, what is this? But the size of it was regardless of how the person cooked it, which the person cooked it horribly, but the size of it was embarrassing. And when I ended up cutting it up on my salad, I didn't even feel like I had any salmon. Usually when I cut up the salmon and mix it in my salad, it's this big giant bites of salmon that's really cooked perfectly. And okay, that's twice in a row that I've gotten the salmon, and it's been a little tiny square of nothing. And it just happened this year. Yet the price has I feel doubled. So it's okay, the price of the meat has doubled and the size of the meat has decreased by half. So then the same thing, I went to the same hotel chain, which I do plan on making a formal complaint about this. I'm not going to let this go. I'm going to go I didn't want to complain to the wait person, because I don't feel like they have the power, but I thought I need to complain to somebody higher up, because, and I'm not a big complainer. I really am not. I'm not one of those people that's always out to like make any kind of like, well, this is how you should do it. I just don't feel like I'm a complainer at all. But I do feel like this is really upsetting me about the food sizes and the cost. And then last week I got same thing. I got my usual. I went to this same exact hotel that I've gone to for 4 years. And I was excited because they always had the best Caesar salad with these giant pieces of grilled chicken on it that was like real chicken. And it was so good. But then I ordered it last week at the same exact hotel that I've always ordered it at. And it's these little cubed pieces of chicken, almost that look like they're processed. And it's less chicken. It's like half the amount. But guess what? The price is doubled. So again, looking at the steak description tonight on the menu, it said 12-ounce steak cooked in like herb butter or whatever. It didn't say what kind of cut it was. And it is set 12 ounces, right? It's a 12-ounce cut of steak. No description of what kind of meat it was, what cut of the, steak. But lo and behold, the price, $40 in a hotel. This is not even like a gourmet restaurant. I'm like, are you kidding me? So like steak is like gone off my menu, which is probably good because you're not really supposed to eat red meat anyway. But I'm like, I would like to get one, like maybe every couple of weeks I'd get like a steak. And that just is not happening for me right now. I mean, unless I guess I cook it myself and I get it on sale at the clearance on, which if I can ever get that. But either way, I had to share that with you. But I want to tell you a story. Imagine being a little girl in the 1970s, like in 2nd or 3rd grade. And when you're little, this is what you ate. This is what I ate. Never did I see anything prepackaged. And I remember the only prepackaged thing I think we ever had was my mom always had a box of Cheerios in the house. That was it. Nothing else. We didn't have prepackaged food. I remember in the 70s, my mom made homemade yogurt. She had one of those little yogurt machines with like the 6 really nice cups in glass, not plastic, in this really pretty white glass. And we'd plug it into the wall and it would heat up the, I guess milk or whatever she made yogurt with. And it was just like, it was delicious. She'd have it warm and then we'd have this delicious yogurt and she would put honey in the yogurt and maybe some like fresh blueberries or fresh berries on top of the yogurt. Fresh, from fresh, like delicious berries. We'd sometimes go pick our own blackberries or we'd go drive all the way to North Jersey to pick our own blueberries. And then my mom would freeze them. We'd go like all the way up to like Cherry Hill area or Hamilton in New Jersey when in the summertime and just pick loads and loads of blueberries. And then my mom would come back and make like homemade blueberry pie was our treat. And then we'd freeze the blueberries. And then we would go pick our own peaches. Like we drive up, again, New Jersey, it gets a bad rap because New Jersey is just loaded with farms and fruit. But we would go pick our own peaches and my mom would actually jar the peaches. She would jar them. We'd go buy white grape juice. I remember because I loved when she'd buy this white grape juice in like these glass bottles to jar our peaches in. And we used to love it because I'd get like a little tiny cup of the white grape juice or glass, not even a cup. I say cup, I mean glass. We drank out of like glassware. We didn't drink out of plastic. So when I was like a little girl, everything was in a glass that you drank out of. Never did we have anything out of a bottle. Never. And then everything we would all load into the car. We'd cram as many kids as we could, cousins and aunts, into like somebody's car, maybe somebody's station wagon, somebody's little gremlin, my mom's old Mustang. We'd all cram into a car and we'd drive to the co-op. And we'd get we'd take these big glass jars back to the co-op, giant glass jars. Like they look like mayonnaise jars, but maybe like 3 or 4 times the size of a mayonnaise jar. And we go into like this co-op place. It was like a big barn, and my mom and my aunts would get like fresh oats, or they'd get 1 jar of fresh oats. And I think they all shared it. Like I guess they all shared the cost of it. And then we'd all come back to like my mom's kitchen or somebody's kitchen with all these big jars of like raisins and oats and I don't know, whatever else was in these jars that they would get. And my mom and my other aunts would make homemade granola. And then we always had this homemade granola with homemade oats. I think my mom, maybe I'm putting too much stock into what she did, but I did think she actually put like a little honey in it and cooked it. I can't remember, but we had this homemade granola on top of the refrigerator. You know, you always have the cereal. We had like homemade granola on top of the refrigerator with like Cheerios. And then the only thing I never used white sugar. My mom, we used honey for everything. Like we put a little honey on our Cheerios with always some fresh banana or some fresh fruit in the morning. And that was our breakfast. And we never drank skim milk. I hate to say it. We drank whole milk. Like we just ate real food. And then for dinner, like my mom would cook like a ham on the bone, right? That would be what we ate for like 3 days. Like one day we'd have ham on the bone that was cooked. And the first day we would just have like real ham with a potato and a vegetable. And then the second night, my mom would do this thing where she made a roux and she'd like cube the ham. And we'd have and she'd make homemade cornbread. So we'd homemade cornbread with like this cubed ham with a roux and then another vegetable, of course, because we always had vegetables or salads. She was always had a vegetable or salad. And then the third night, my dad might take the cast iron pan and throw whatever leftover ham was there in like a casserole with brown rice and celery and onions. And we'd have some kind of funky, weird casserole that he would make. And then with the ham bone, he would make like a delicious white, like a bone broth soup that was homemade from the ham bone. So like we didn't waste any food, and everything we ate was like real food. So I want to say that was probably like in the 70s and early 80s, into the 80s a little bit. And then our life, I was really fortunate because I feel like, and I'm not ditzing on my other siblings, but I felt like when I was a kid and the decades that I was alive, it was all about just cooking a good meal at night and cooking a real meal with real food, and then using all that food to get first we didn't have a lot of money, so we get the biggest bang for our buck. But in the process of getting the biggest bang for our buck, we were eating so healthy, because by the third day we were eating that meat that we were cutting up, my dad was like supplementing it with brown rice and like extra vegetables because we didn't have a lot of meat. So instead of eating a lot of meat that third night, we were eating a lot of vegetables and brown rice and things that were really good for us. And I just think about that, and then I think about the switchover. So I'm going to go into the switchover in the 80s, and my observation of the switchover. When I was a little kid and I was talking about that story about eating the way I just was talking about, we didn't have McDonald's near us. We had to drive all the way, which isn't that far, but we had to drive like 8 miles to Courthouse. I remember Courthouse and then Wildwood was about 8 miles away, were the first 2 places that there was even a McDonald's. And that was like a big like thrill for us. And then when we went to McDonald's, it felt like it was not, I don't ever feel like we had a McDonald's for dinner. I felt like McDonald's was maybe like a lunch or maybe like a treat, but it was never like my parents were like, let's go to McDonald's for dinner. Never did we ever go to McDonald's for dinner. And the fact that we had to drive to get to it, it wasn't like right around every corner. And there were not convenience stores. Like, we had 7-Eleven. We did have 7-Eleven, but we didn't have Wawa's and Sheetz and like all these convenience stores that were all just right a mile from your home. So if we went to 7-Eleven, first off, I don't really feel like, my parents, I'm sure other parents and like went to the 7-Eleven, but we didn't go to 7-Eleven much. Maybe on a road trip we did. For some reason, I just remember going to 7-Eleven to get beef jerky of all things, but I don't remember ever getting anything else at 7-Eleven. But I remember 7-Elevens were there, and people would buy cigarettes at 7-Elevens. But either way, when I was a kid, like I said, we didn't just run to fast food or to a convenience store to get anything. Well, then here comes, like, towards the end of the 80s, it might have been, or the 90s, was when this became popular. And when you all hear this, you're going to know exactly what I'm going to talk about. And I think this was the demise of nutritionally balanced meals for young people. And this is what I think it was. The big gulp. I remember it was like, and the big everything. Like, do you remember, like, in the 90s, it was like, supersize me, supersize this, supersize that. Like, I know some people when they were kids did drink soda all the time, but my mom and dad we never had soda in the house. We never had soda. I do not ever remember my whole life growing up ever having any kind of soda in my house. Now, we were allowed when I was a kid, if we went out to dinner for like a special treat, like say we went to a diner or we did go to McDonald's for lunch, we were allowed to get like a fountain soda. And that was like a huge deal for me and my brother. We were like, yeah, we can get soda with, it was like a big deal to get soda. And then we didn't get diet soda. We got like real soda with real sugar in it. So anyway, but the thing that I think caused a lot of the downfall was, I really do believe this, and this is Petra theory. This is Petra. This is not like based on any evidence-based like literature or research or data. I think the demise of a lot of the nutrition was this is just one of the few things I think was the demise, was the big gulp and the supersize me, and the fact that kids could just whip through the drive-through themselves and go to 7-Eleven and just get these big, giant, big gulps, and they don't fill you up. You can drink a big gulp and you're still hungry, but I'll tell you what, the calories in that sucker is a ton. So like, I think that kind of like messed up our young people. And then the other thing, I think that was the demise for my family. I'm talking from my observation. When I went to college, my mom, God bless her, my mom is the most amazing woman ever. She went back to college too in her 40s. And she used to work, this is why I'm going to just praise my mom a little bit. My mom used to be a nurse's aide that worked the night shift from 11 p to 7 a.m. Hardly made any money at the hospital, but, contributed to the family income with my dad. And she worked really hard. And then on top of working 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. as a nurse's aide, she went to college in the daytime while she was working a full-time shift and got her RN degree and raised 2 little babies, my little sister and my little brother, who were a lot younger than me. Now, I was already in college when she did all this. So she kind of started her and my father started another little family set that was much differently raised than how me and my older brother, well, he's not my older brother. My brother is 3 years younger than me. And then 10 years later, my mom and dad had another set of children. And then that's when my mom went back to work and back to school. So sadly, I think for my sister and my brother, not sadly, I don't want to say sadly, their lives were just different than me and my other brother. My other brother and myself had a mom that didn't work, and we didn't have a lot of money, but I think having that mom at home, even though we didn't have money, I'm so thankful for that. I really am. I would say I was okay with not having money. I was okay with us not having the things that other people had and having a little less money. But at the same time, I have to just praise her, because when I went to college, my mom went to college at the same time. So here I am going to college, 18 years old, my mom's in college. And I would, on her days off, which were very seldom, this is what my mom did. And Mom, shame on you, but I don't think you knew any better at the time. This was the other demise to nutrition. It truly was a demise to nutrition. BJ's and Costco and all these like big bulk stores where you go buy bulk food. Because my mom, what she would do, because she worked so much and she was going to school, my dad would cook really nice meals when he could, but sometimes he worked really late too. So we were all kind of a little bit of latchkey kids. I think it was probably my junior, senior year. I'd come home and my mom was either studying or sleeping because she had to work the night shift. There was just a lot going on. So we often would be at the mercy of figuring out what we were going to eat for dinner together at that point in time. Whereas when I was younger, we all sat down and had dinner together around the table. Well, then my little siblings were born and I was at the end of my high school years. And my mom, like I said, had been working the night shift and then eventually went back to school. So we would load up the coolers in the back of her station wagon and drive. I didn't usually do this with her, but she did it with the younger kids. They'd all go on a road trip to BJ's outside of Atlantic City. BJ's is like a wholesale club. And she would bring home these frozen things like frozen steak calzones and little frozen, like, I want to say Hot Pockets. Well, maybe like Hot Pockets. And like all those little frozen things that you just toss in the microwave. You don't even cook it on the stove. You would toss it in the microwave and heat it up, and then there you go. So I remember my little brother and sister when they were like probably like 4 and like, 7. And my mom was like sleeping, getting ready to go to work, learned how to like, make a Hot Pocket for dinner, or like a steak calzone, or like some kind of frozen pizza. And frozen food like kicked us in the butt with, I hate to say kicked us in the butt with nutrition, but when I think about the nutritional value of that compared to like a real meal that's like whole foods. And then if you think about it, that's what happened all throughout the United States. My family was experiencing the same thing that other families were experiencing. So going from in the 70s, eating and cooking whole foods, because really that's mostly what you could get. You could get in the 70s, you could get those weird little TV dinners. You probably remember those. But if a family ate TV dinners every night. But when I think about eating a Costco or a BJ's meal, I'm calling it Costco because that's where I go now, and I love Costco, so I don't want to like ditch on it too much. But I think that then in the late 80s and 90s, that decade was the big gulp, multiple 7-Elevens, Wawa, Sheetz, and fast food chains just coming about all over the place. And then also these wholesale food places where you could get giant volumes of frozen foods. It wasn't like a little 2-pack. It was like you could get a 20-pack of like steak calzones, 20-pack of Hot Pockets, or whatever. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. So I think you're all probably with me on this with nutrition. And then here we go into the 2000s. And the neat thing, I think more about like the 2000s comes along with it. Just multiple fast food options, and some are a little healthier. Like I have to give some credit. Like I'm finding that, at first I was a little excited about healthy places, like Kava and like, even the, places that, the Kava, the places that you can make the mod pizza where you can get like a healthy crust and healthy mod pizza toppings, or the Kava salad places, or Chipotle. You can choose healthy things. You can choose healthy things, or you can choose not healthy things. If you throw a ton of sour cream and cheese on it, you're taken away from a lot of the healthiness of the whole meal. But at the same time, if you're cautious with what you put on these things. But now I'm thinking I'm eating healthy, and I'm finding out about the microbiome in your gut. And I'm hearing that all these chemicals that you're getting that maybe solidify a salad dressing, or that you think is healthy, and or maybe that makes the bread in the wrap is like hurting your microbiome in your gut and affecting the good bacteria in your gut. So like, whoa, 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 whoa. So I just listened to a really neat podcast. Here I go, talking about Mel Robbins again, because she just has these amazing guests. And she had a woman, and I'm going to actually attach this. I'm going to reference this in my podcast because I want you all to hear this. It's a woman from the Mayo Clinic. She's a doctor, she's an oncologist, and she herself had cancer so bad it actually engulfed her heart, wrapped around her heart. She ended up in her life having a heart transplant later in life and suffering from the effects of this cancer that she had. But she is an oncologist now, and she talks about lengthening your life. Even if you change the way you eat, when you're like an older person in your 70s or your 80s, you're going to add years to your life. And it was an eye-opening experience to listen to her talk about the foods and how you really have to look at the package. And if there's things that you do not recognize on that ingredient list, don't buy it. And it really put things into perspective for me, because salad dressings and wraps, I mean, I love wraps. I'll eat like a wrap and think, oh, I'm so healthy. But meanwhile, they're putting things and chemicals and binders and just different things into these foods that are affecting your microbiome. And microbiome is just, I think about, I'm a GI certified nurse, so I just have seen the effects of nutrition on people, and just what happens to your colon, and I just think about keeping a healthy digestive system and a healthy gut, and how to do that is just going back to the story I told you about a young girl in the 70s piling into an old station wagon with her aunts and her cousins to go get those whole foods, and then to prepare themselves in their own homes without any chemicals, without plastics, without all those things like that we're hearing about damage us. And I was just listening to the news this morning, and they were talking about the stocks. And they were talking about how a lot of young people who used to go to Chipotle and all these different places, the stocks are dropping in these fast food chains that were hangouts and places that young people would go eat. And they're like trying to figure out why. And they're all befuddled about it. And I'm thinking in my head, well, I can tell you two reasons why. One reason is the cost of food in general. It's almost mortifying. I don't even know, I worry about people so much who don't have a lot of money and who can't, or don't even have enough money. It's not that a lot of money, who their wage is not, a minimum wage is not able to sustain anybody anymore. And I just think about people who aren't even minimum wage, who are working poor. I call them working poor, or who are working hard and making what to some might seem like a good salary, but it can't even feed their families. And I'm thinking about how they're so surprised that, stocks are down for restaurants. And I'm kind of excited because my children are in their 20s and 30s, and they're very aware of food. And they're very aware of what's healthy for their children now. And they're avoiding things that have chemicals in them. Just now, I'm noticing it. They're avoiding dyes. They're avoiding things that can damage them. Not even just thinking about going out to eat for money, but thinking about eating at home and cooking at home and the health benefits of it. I notice that my kids are really aware of that. And they're those kids that, a lot of those kids are not the ones, maybe they're the ones that are starting their families, so they're maybe not eating out as much. But I think that kids, thank goodness, they're smart. They're smart, and they're going to hear, and the more we're informed about diet and nutrition and, microplastics building up in your blood and accumulating in your brain and like all this stuff that affects your microbiome in your gut and just affects your overall lifespan. I think that's why we're going to see kids cook at home. And I hope so much that our whole entire culture, the way that we farm, the way that we serve people, the things that we do to even our economy, the way that we make money is more focused on whole foods that are real, whole foods that don't have chemicals in them. I mean, every component of the meal has to be that way. And I think that we have to think that way about food. And we have to really not just be aware of it, but practice it. So today I ate really bad. And I thought about it because I went and got a breakfast sandwich. And I thought about like the sauce that they put on it, everything they cook everything in, and the grease and just everything. And I thought, okay, well, and I got it. I got a breakfast sandwich I got up at 4:30 in the morning and I was hungry. I was really hungry. And like I said, my pickle juice got all over my berries. Although maybe I still have the berries in my backpack cooler. I'm probably going to try to eat them. Maybe it'll be something that tastes delicious, raspberries and blackberries with pickle juice all over them. But I was just really hungry. I woke up at 4:30. I worked out at the gym yesterday. I did really heavy lifting, and I didn't eat a lot last night. So I got a breakfast sandwich and a nice Dunkin' coffee. And then tonight I got that salmon with the salad. Now what I do now is I avoid salad dressing. So what I get is I'll get like a house salad, and instead of getting like I usually used to get blue cheese dressing or ranch dressing, and now I love balsamic vinaigrette. So if they have balsamic vinaigrette, that's like my jam. And I'll get oil and balsamic vinaigrette. And then I feel like I'm avoiding the chemicals that are in the salad dressing. So I overall had a really healthy meal tonight. I got a garden salad, and it really truly was just lettuce with, red onion and carrots and like tomato. And then I got a dried out tiny piece of salmon on top. That was the most pathetic. I almost want to take a picture of it. I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to start taking pictures and sending it to the I don't know if they're even going to care. I don't even know if they're even going to care, but it just irritates me to no end. I'm so disappointed. So I actually, last week, the first night I got that chicken and it was cubed, I was going to go down to the little hotel bar again and eat another salad, because I'll tend to do that. I'll get one night I'll get a salad with chicken on it. The next night I'll get a salad with salmon on it. Well, I actually went down and talked to the bartender, and I looked up on Google restaurants near me. And I don't like to drive out because first off, I feel like when I get to the hotel, when I travel, it's like getting home. Like I'm like, okay, I'm home now. It's 8:00. I'm going to settle in and get my pajamas and, eat my dinner, get cozy, take a shower. After I take a shower after working out at the gym, I don't want to run out and get in the car and drive a couple miles or 5 miles away. I just don't want to. I want to just hang out here. But now I'm going to start driving away. Or I'm thinking when I'm at the center, I might, on my way home, not home to the hotel. Oh yeah, it is home to the hotel. On my way back to the hotel, I might just order from a real restaurant that has real food, like a mom and pop restaurant that has real food. Because that's what I did last week. I was so disappointed in the Caesar salad with the cubed chicken on it that the next night found like 3 top rated restaurants in the area that were of a good price point, because it's a fair price point. And I went down and was just talking to the bartender who I met the night before and said, hey, can you give me a good restaurant? And she pulled one out of her hat that wasn't even one of the 3 that I was asking her about. And she said, no, go to this one. And it was about 2 miles further. The ones I was looking at were like 3 miles because I was trying to stay close. And she's like, go to this one that's 5 miles away. It's really good. And oh my gosh, it was phenomenal. And I got real food and it was priced well. And I'm going to have to start, like, when I can pack, like if I'm just going away for 2 nights and I'm in my car, that I can pack my own cooler. I will actually make my own turkey burgers and bring them. I'll actually bring leftovers from my dinner to the hotel. And I'll just start doing that a little more. And like I said, when I travel on a plane or a train, it's a little harder to pack food because you're really limited on dragging stuff around. But I did try to pack some of my own berries and edamame and, again, my pickle juice. Oh yeah, edamame. The edamame is sealed, so that probably didn't get the pickle juice on it, but the berries that got on there. Anyway, so I do still try to pack my own food, but at the same time, I eat out. So I am going to make a real effort to eat out and get whole, real foods, and at home, not buy a lot of prepackaged things, but actually go to the butcher and the fish market. And there's at the market where I live, there's a woman that sells all organic vegetables. So I've been going to her once a week and buying like a big thing of rhubarb or a big thing of kale or Swiss chard and like a big head of cabbage and eating it as my vegetable and feeling really good about myself. It's kind of sad, but just kind of like changing my whole lifestyle with food and realizing that, a tuna salad or chicken salad wrap isn't necessarily healthy because all the things that are in the sauces that they put in that are not good for your microbiome. And I didn't give you the science or the data, but I just gave you, my perception, from my perspective, living as a 50-year-old woman going through the 70s, 80s, and 90s and watching the demise of our nutritional intake, what we eat, and my stand up and read do, and you all know what it is because I kind of already said it, is to grab that oil and vinegar, not grab the salad dressing. Or if I'm going to be so inclined, I will make my own blue cheese dressing, my own ranch dressing, if I can get my butt in gear to have enough energy to do that. But I want to really just savor every bite of food I have, but savor it knowing that every bite I take has nutritional relevance, is not going to harm me, is healthy for me, and then hopefully be an influence for my children who are, of course, in their 30s now, almost 30, last one, and my grandchildren to eat healthy and, instead of like having just homemade popcorn maybe when they come over, the kids, or like real ice cream with limited ingredients in it, and just having snacks for my grandchildren that are good and healthy in our whole foods. Peanut butter with apples on it, instead of like these junky potato chips or Cheez-Its or whatever, just getting like really healthy snacks for them. So my stand up and redo is everything I put in my mouth, I want to be nutritionally relevant and lacking in microplastics and chemicals. And that's my stand up and redo. And thank you. I have a post. Okay. Oh my gosh. I have a post recording to add to this. And it's going to be to make some corrections. First, I know the Charlie Brown character I was trying to reference when I had pickle juice all down my pants and I stunk on the train, and it was Pigpen. So Pigpen was the character I was trying to reference from Charlie Brown. And then I also have a correction. I was talking about my mom driving with my siblings to go shopping at Whole Foods store, and it was actually Sam's Club. They used to go shopping. I just recalled that after I finished my recording. And then other than that, I did listen back, and there was just some grammatical things that I stated as I'm listening. I'm like, why did I say things that way? But either way, listening back, can't worry about that. It's too late. But I did want to share those little tidbits of information with you, corrections, and all right, thank you. I'd like to give credit to Sarah Gephardt for the cover page of this podcast. This podcast is a work based on the personal experiences, reflections, and memories of the speaker. The events described are true to the best of the speaker's knowledge and recollection. Some names, locations, identifying characteristics, and timelines have been changed or altered to protect the privacy of the individuals involved. In some cases, composite characters have been created or dialogue has been reconstructed based on memory. The intention of this podcast is not to defame, malign, or harm any individual or entity. Rather, it is to share the speaker's journey with honesty, vulnerability, and integrity. Any opinions expressed are solely those of the speaker and are not intended as statements of fact regarding any person, group, or organization. Listeners should keep in mind that human memory is inherently subjective and selective, and while every effort has been made to ensure accuracy, this podcast reflects the speaker's perspective and truth. Thank you.